Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the new DAL Cyclone Q2035 prop. It's a 2-inch 4-bladed prop, and it's got that, sort of iconic Cyclone sort of look and feel. The way the blade is shaped is kind of long, kind of wider here in this part of the blade, and then it tapers off on the end here. And it's kind of an unusual. It's kind of a wavy prop. I'm not sure if it comes out in the camera, but it sort of has these little ripples on the surface of the prop and gives it kind of a unique look. If you look at the scoop of the prop here, it has a curve here underneath. It's difficult to get it to come out on camera, but you can kind of see this curve. It kind of curves down and in on this part and then up on this part of here further out. And I think that's sort of this unique shape for this 2-inch prop. Very different from the other 4-bladed 2-inch prop that a lot of people are using, the Gemfan 2035. You can see here that this is a more traditional blade, very straight and flat with a little bit of a curve here. It's not quite as pitched on the Gemfan. The Cyclone's a little bit more pitched at the hub, and then on the end, at the end of the blade, it's a little bit more tapered on the Cyclone versus the Gemfan. And this comes out in the way the prop sounds in flight. On the same motor, 1104 7500 kV on 3S, the Gemfan has a very high-pitched noise, and then you'll hear in the flight demo that the Cyclone here has a very sort of a lower pitch sound, and it's not as noisy as the Gemfan. And you also get less D-trim oscillation on this one. So might be due to the way that the prop is shaped, and then the way the air is flowing over the prop, and the way the air is being directed. I think that this prop, because of the shape and the design, actually ends up being quieter than the Gemfan 2035. Now in terms of damage, here's an example of the prop getting a nick here, and it doesn't take too much for it to get a nick. You can run into I think I ran into a pole here, or maybe it was a tree, and the plastic does get nicked, but it doesn't really affect the performance of the prop. Like, I flew around with this nick in here on some of these blades, and they seem to be totally fine. And here's another example of a nick in one of the blades. However, here's an example of the blade getting bent, and I bent it back. You can see that it's not quite the same shape as it was before. So this blade is actually, this prop is actually very durable. And through a bunch of crashes, I wasn't able to snap off any of the blades. They do bend very, I mean, you can bend them. So you can see here it bends, and then you can just bend them back. But after a while, not after a while, but if you try and bend it back, sometimes you can't quite get it the exact same shape. So you end up with these weird sort of deformities in the blade, and actually flew around with this one sort of deformed, and it was causing jello in my video, in one of my other videos, and I didn't realize that it was kind of bent up like this, even though I had bent it back. So you are able to bend it back, but you may not be able to get the exact same shape, and it may alter the performance. But they are very durable in the fact that the blades don't snap off that easily. Okay, so if we take a look at the weight of this prop, it comes in at about 0.88 grams. It's a little bit heavier than the Gemfan. It comes in at 0.8, and that kind of comes out a little bit in the way it flies. I think that, and this may be just my speculation, but it does feel like that the Gemfan spins up quicker than the Cyclone blade, and I think that's because of the weight. The lower end torque, though, on the Cyclone seems to be a little bit better than on the Gemfan. If you're below, say, 35% throttle, I think that this has better efficiency than the Gemfan. But it's difficult to tell without actually like testing it on thrust stand and doing all this sort of like measurements, which I don't really do. So there might be more data coming out on some of the Facebook groups regarding this prop, but it just felt like I had a little bit more control with the Cyclone at lower throttle, and I could make sharper turns at lower throttle than with the Gemfan, where I would need to give it a little more throttle to have the same amount of control. Now, in terms of like overall power, sort of on the higher end of the throttle range, I felt that the props were pretty similar. Adequate power on 3S on a say like 1104 7500 kV motor. I wouldn't recommend going to a too much lower kV. You can probably go 3S on a 6000 kV, but I wouldn't do 6000 kV on 2S, for example, on either one of these props. I think the power would just go down too much. Now, in terms of efficiency, I think that they're fairly similar. I honestly couldn't tell that much of a difference. I mean, it might be that the Cyclone might be a little bit more efficient because I could tell that it's quieter across the entire throttle band, and that may mean that it might be a little bit more efficient because usually more noise means that it's less efficient. There's more energy being lost in the weight, basically the sound generated by the prop. Of course, that's just I didn't really do any hard testing on that, but that's just speculation on my part. It's not like you're going to get massive amounts more flight time with the Cyclone, but maybe just a little bit more. Maybe I would say another 15 or 30 seconds, depending on how you fly. Anyway, it's going to do for this video. Going to have links to this prop in the description, and as of the filming of this video, it's not actually being sold yet, so you might have to check back the description later, see where else you could buy this prop, because it may not be listed at the time you watch this video, but it will be at some point in the future. I will update the links to the places where you can buy this prop.